Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to War Stories. My name is Ryan Smelts, and today we are talking about basic training basics. So number one, running everywhere. If you've looked at the show notes, then you can see my outline of what today is going to be about. I put running everywhere because one thing they had us do is if you were supposed to be in formation, then you would be running until you got to formation. When we went to PT, we would run downstairs out of the barracks to formation. Then we would line up, march over to the PT field. And of course, they had us run Monday, Wednesday, Friday for PT. Then when we got done and went back to the barracks, you would run upstairs, shit, shower, and shave, as they like to say. And then you would run back downstairs to formation. Sometimes chow for breakfast was immediately after PT. So they would march us straight from PT over to the chow hall. Sometimes it was after we showered and changed into our BDUs, but every single time we were running. So when we got to the chow hall and they released us in order of platoon and squad, we would come out the front of the formation and run to the chow hall entrance. When we got done with chow, we would run from the exit back to formation. The organization and schedule. So one thing I really liked about basic training is everything was planned out and the drill sergeants knew exactly what was taking place and when. So we really didn't have to plan anything. We just had to be told what to do and make sure that we did it. So obviously it was very long days, sometimes as late as 10 o'clock at night, as early as 4 o'clock in the morning, but they told us when to go to bed, when lights out was, when to wake up, when to be where, what formation to be in, when classes were, and made sure that we got there and got there on time. Basic training at the very beginning, especially during red phase, we learned how to shoot, move, and communicate. So this is one thing in like the first week of basic training, they had us do our weapons draw. So we went to the arms room, they sent us through the armor and we drew our weapon and signed it out. And then of course ran from the armor back down into formation and stood with our weapon. In basic, it was an M16. Once we got out, we had M4s. Once we got to our first unit. However, that rifle didn't leave our sides. We also got a lock. So we put it on our bunk and locked it with a bolt to the rear, upside down, hanging from the end of the bunk. And you pretty much went everywhere with your rifle. When we went to the chow hall, we would stack arms outside of the chow hall, which was something they taught us in DNC. DNC was part of the movement portion. So they taught us all the facing movements. They taught us how to march. They taught us the commands. And this is something that this is one reason why I thought I would have enjoyed being a drill sergeant, because they had to memorize blocks of instruction to teach us what a preparatory command and command of execution were. So they would teach us, they would show us, we would do it, and then they would give us feedback on whether or not we were doing it right and help those who struggled a little bit with, say, an about face, because some people aren't able to do it right out the gate. One of my favorite portions of basic training is when we hit white phase, they started calling cadence and we would call it back. So we started to be able to participate a little bit more in what the regular army was going to be like, which it's funny I say that because in the permanent party army, I actually called more cadence running than I did marching. But when we hit white phase and they started to let us call cadence. I was one of the loudest people in the platoon, and my drill sergeant took notice almost immediately. So they had assigned a uh, class platoon leader or platoon sergeant, if you will, the special brassards that they give to the trainees to appoint um, positions. And the first guy was there when we went to land nav, and he was somewhat, I guess you would say, meek, a little timid. And the drill sergeant was just trying to get him to be loud. So the very typical show me your war face, and you were supposed to yell and make an angry face and recite the soldier's creed, and you were supposed to recite it as loud as you possibly could. Well, eventually she brought me up and had me do the same thing. And in that moment said, congratulations, you're the new platoon guide. So I was platoon guide for about a week. So that was pretty fun. It gave me a little taste of what leadership would be like in the Army, because a lot of times they would say, okay, we're going to go to chow now, and they would tell the platoon guides, and then the platoon guides would have to go back and tell the platoon, hey, we're going to chow now, everybody form up. Not a lot in way of needing any type of authority, because everybody wanted to listen to the platoon guide because they had the information and knew what was going on. So really didn't deal with any pushback or anything. Maybe a little difficult from a standpoint of having to make sure that if we were about to leave, we had everybody. You know, if somebody was off at the latrine, then you're having to track them down or whatever. But yeah, that was my first taste of leadership in the Army. Uh, fourth week or so of basic training, maybe second or third week. I don't remember how long the phases were, but we were in white phase, and they made me platoon guide. So that is my basic training basics episode. Once again, I hope you're enjoying these. If you have heard any stories you are a part of and you want to submit corrections, I encourage you to do so. I think this would definitely be more fun if I had people telling me that my version of the story is inaccurate. So let me know. If you like this, leave us a 5-star review. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Most importantly, tell your friends to subscribe as well. My name is Ryan Smelts, and I will see you on tomorrow's episode of War Stories.